is not over. The dawn's not that far away. Hop back on the saddle soon. You soulless soldier. The dark can consume your brain. All we ever wanted was a little air to breathe. But all we got are ashes of our old memories. They can try to take me down, but they can't take me to my knees. No, you'll never take me. Not my choice, but it's my blood to bleed. I'm fading. Heed the words I say to you before I will fade away. I need to know what you can do. Show them the only way. All we ever wanted was a little air to breathe. But all we got are ashes of our old memories. They can try to take me down, but they can't take me to my knees. No, you'll never take me. Not my choice, but it's my blood to bleed. I'm fading.
Watch my life pass me by, never knowing where I belong in a web of love and lies. As you string me along, and I can't breathe, I can't see. I'm losing sight of everything I feel. The walls closing in, closing in. Am I falling apart? Oh, I just wanna be free. I just wanna be free. Think I'm falling apart. Oh, I just wanna be free, free.
Tinsley sends it to the outside. He can't get there. Kevin King is going to win the Barbizzel FTF Cup Series.
Into the lead. Bud gets wrecked in front of the pack. He saves it. 3-4 wide as they come to the white flag.
Here comes Vargas down on the apron. They are 5 wide. Ian Plash will win it at the line. Is this package? Oh, there goes Jordan Lopez Jr. That's your race leader. Caution flag is out.
Still no one willing to give up as they're going to be dead even off of the first chicane.
Oh, he saves it! What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas! Get your front gear!
He's got it! He's got it! Get there, no!
Canvas is going to win!
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to FTF.GG's coverage of the 7th round of Season 6 of Core, presented by SimWrapMarket.com, the Stig Shoreline Drive Street Circuit Bonanza from the virtual Long Beach Street Circuit in Long Beach, California. Chase Pike alongside Caleb Hoffman here to bring you all the action this evening. And Caleb, never before in the 6th-season history of Core has this series gone street racing. Tonight, that changes, and not only do they go street racing, but they do it in the Gen 4 stock car with all kinds of horsepower, all kinds of torque.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this has been one of the big variables on the Core Season 6 schedule so far this year, and we've all been looking forward to it. Not only, the race itself, but the chaos it's going to bring all night long. It's going to be, for sure, Long Beach.
Long Beach, twists and turns and all sorts of wild, goofy things that we will expect to see over the course of tonight's doubleheader. As always, 2 races on the docket for Core this evening. So when we finish this first one, do not go anywhere. We'll have a short break and then we'll bring you the second half of the doubleheader. In the meantime, though, let's bring you the starting grid for race number 1, presented by Eric Messer Photography, the official photographer of the Madhouse at Bowman Gray Stadium, part of the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series. Harry Tiller, Brad Perez make up the first row. Brad on pole, Corey Vervinkt, and Keenan Kusa, Mr. Aero HD there, Case Kellenbach, and Fly Guy. Starting in row 3, Robert Dorman rolls all 7th with Dale Reynolds in 8th. Blake McCandless and TCB, Tyrell Baker, round out the top 10.
Looking on back to row number 6, you'll find Wes Graham starting alongside Drive-Thru. The outside right there. Row 7, you're going to have Ryan Vargas with Justin Malillo. Row number 8, Brian LaPrade with Gabe Wood to his outside. Gabe Wood in that throwback machine this week. Row 9, David Schildhaus and Gary Owen, who are both doing very well in the points this year. And then your last row, obviously, with Garrett Smithley, Michael Cozy Jr., all by himself. In row 11 is going to be Michael P. Frisch, the points leader.
21 cars to take to this first race here at the Long Beach Street Circuit. This, one of the most famous street circuits in the world, certainly the most famous street circuit in the United States. Originally opened in 1975, it is just under 2 miles, just over 3 kilometers in length. And one of the defining characteristics is this long run that these drivers have just completed down Shoreline Drive into the first turn, which is a heavy braking zone, and then around the iconic fountain section right around the aquarium. They'll have to snake their way through here, and then they'll eventually loop behind the fountain and back onto Shoreline Drive a little bit before they'll cut off. They'll jump onto South Pine Avenue, work their way back on East Seaside Way behind everything, and then back into the parking lot over by turns 9, 10, and 11 before they finish off the lap with that tight hairpin that brings them back onto Shoreline Drive. Tonight, as always, it's a doubleheader, 18 laps for these drivers, just over 35 miles, just under 60 kilometers in length. Your pit road speed, 35 miles an hour. Your tanks for fuel set at 40%. That's about 26 laps on a green flag run, so fuel should not be a factor. The biggest thing I think to watch for, Caleb, though, the special rules that we have for this evening, because this is a road course and a street course after all.
Absolutely. There are some changes that have been made. You can see everybody kind of preparing. Obviously, not going to really have the space here with how narrow Long Beach is to do these double file starts that we normally do. So tonight we've let everybody that's EOLing get to the back. Rusty didn't take it. That'll be for race number 2 for the 59 machine probably. But for most everybody, you're going to see them kind of stick to this right side of the racetrack, or left side of the racetrack, excuse me, for the start, just so we don't get clogged up going into the very narrow turn number 1 and 2.
It's a narrow 1 and 2. It's a narrow turn 11 to end a lap as well, and it's not necessarily easy to get through as the drivers work their way through the hairpin and get set to go racing. Pace car is off. Brad Perez, the Hollywood, Florida native, will have control of the field as we go green flag racing for the first time, and our first race in the doubleheader of the Stig Shoreline Drive Street Circuit Bonanza is live from Long Beach. Will they get through turn one without any incident? Perez had to check up, and Keenan just about got into Tiller. And Perez, I think, got some help from Corey there as they have to quickly funnel down to single file, double file in some places through the fountain section. But it's Harry Tiller that's come away with control of this field as they work their way back to Shoreline Drive into South Pine Avenue for the first time.
Yeah, very narrow there through the fountain section, and for many years the jump at CTMP was what everybody tried to hit. And today we're going to try to avoid having cars end up in the fountain as they go through 6 and 7, heading down into turn number 8. Here comes leader Harry Tiller onto East Seaside Way.
Tiller is clear, Arrow is clear. Brad Perez has started to jump out ahead because TCB is looking to the inside of Corey Vervink to take over the 4th spot, and he will get it as they come off of Seaside Way and into the parking lot that concludes the lap here at Long Beach. Everybody there's trouble a little bit further back, and Brad Perez just about lost it in front of TCB too.
Yeah, Brad Perez was the first one I saw. Everybody's going to get stacked up here. Blake McCandless is going to go around in the hairpin, and now this is going to be a big stack-up effect. Michael P. Frisch involved, Justin Malillo backwards as well. There's the caution. Was surprised we didn't get it sooner. Lap 1 already. Caution comes out for an incident. Kind of just a chain reaction through the field here in turn 11.
So let's go to the rule book for this race in particular. This is part of the procedures that differ just a little bit specifically for tonight. From the appendix given to drivers before competition this evening, and I quote, "Yellows will be thrown for track blockers or crashes in the racing line that cause multiple drivers to come to a halt." This being a road course, you wouldn't necessarily expect a full course yellow, the equivalent of what we see on ovals more often than not. But if we have an incident like what we just saw, where you had about 4 or 5 drivers that were stuck at the exit of that hairpin, then race control Ben Easterday will throw the yellow flag and bunch everybody back up, and not a moment too soon, I think, for a good chunk of this field, as we'll take a look and see how this panned out. Vargas and McCandless, I think, were part of it. I couldn't tell who the 3rd car was involved there, but 3 of them got together to start this on the exit of the final corner.
Yeah, completely separate incident from beforehand. What we were initially reacting to was contact. Brad Perez got sideways and it stacked everybody up. Then Blake McCandless initially made contact with Corey Vervink. You see there, that's through turn 10. They get it recollected, get back into turn 11, and then it's this stack up. Vargas kind of locks it up. Blake does as well. Wes Graham gets involved, and it's just kind of on from there. Like I said, a chain reaction throughout the field at that point.
So it was Wes that got into Blake, and that really started the chain reaction at the exit of the hairpin. It wasn't the first incident, but that's the one that sent Malillo around. That's the one that sent Michael P. Frisch around. That's the one that ultimately brought out the yellow. It wasn't the incident coming through the kink there through the parking lot. It was the exit of the hairpin incident that brings out the yellow. So everybody now back behind the control of the pace truck with 2 laps complete of the 18. Harry Tiller, though, had a great start. We need to talk about that because we didn't get the chance to amongst all the chaos of those opening laps. But Tiller did a really nice job of controlling the field, got a great drive into turn 1 of that opening start. Brad Perez really was sort of the loser out of that. Started on pole and ends up 3rd because Arrow was able to get around him entering the fountain area. So Brad's got a little bit of work to do, and I don't know if the damage to the right front of his car is going to matter all that much, but it's there in a way that it is not for Keenan or for Harry.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be so important tonight in terms of Harry and Keenan looking up here. This track position, I mean, you can't get caught sleeping on these restarts, of course, but Harry was able to get a pretty sizable lead out to Keenan. Guys like Brad Perez and TCB on back. Just, you know, because of how many braking zones there are and how many different opportunities there are to really spin the tires, I think, with how many heavy braking zones we have. I think getting your foot back on the power, I mean, you can spin the tires pretty easily, and you're going to have to be on top of that all night. pretty much, especially if you're one of these guys like Brad Perez, TCB, Corey Vervinkt on back, and you want to try to press on for this lead.
I think another thing worth noting is that you look at some of the names up here, and it's drivers that we might not necessarily have seen be this high up in the running order on the ovals, but for Tiller, for Keenan, for Brad, for Corey, for DT, a lot of the drivers in the top 5, this is a huge opportunity because it represents a greater percentage chance to win. I think Keenan in particular's road prowess is pretty well documented. I have to believe he's had this night circled since the core calendar was announced earlier last year as an opportunity to go to victory lane and go win one that wouldn't be a plate track. And I know he'd have some sort of fun joke about it, but I can't believe he's not a little bit more jacked up than usual for this, knowing the kind of opportunity that this presents.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this whole second half of the schedule, we have ideas. You see points leader Michael P. Frisch down the pit road there. I mean, we have an idea of who the contenders are here, but we don't really have any idea how it's going to unfold for them for the rest of the season. There's so many different wild cards at play. You know, we had Talladega last week, which was crazy. Long Beach, obviously, such a variable here tonight. Then we go to Rockingham next week, Chicagoland, Wilkesboro, then old school Atlanta. I mean, there's so many just kind of up in the air tracks for everybody where we don't exactly know how everybody's going to mesh, what it's going to look like with these cars, different tracks, different combinations that we haven't tried before here in core. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how it all plays out. And like you said, for Keenan especially here, this road course has to be very nice, change of pace from everything else we do the rest of the year.
Lights are off on the pace car, so when they come back to the stripe, we will go green flag racing this time. Also, we want to throw another driver into the bucket of folks behind the wheel who have had this date circled. Corey Vervinkt, a road racer at heart, Indiana native, loves some open wheel stuff and some IndyCar. We can say IndyCar again in an iRacing broadcast. So that's nice. That was fun news earlier this week. So goodbye, redacted car, be gone, IndyCar. We're glad that you're home and glad that you're here to stay. And you see the man. I see the Pacers jersey. I'm trying to count just off the off the top. Are there any sort of immediate and obvious Indiana things that we can see? Notre Dame in the background. The Cubs are Chicago, but everybody in Indiana cheers for the Cubs, I've learned. So I don't know if does that count? Does that count?
I think so. It's a Midwesterner thing.
Liverpool jersey underneath the Pacers. All right. Be on brand. Why don't you? So we have a restart to get us going here as they will launch off of that exit and begin to thunder down Shoreline Drive. Green flag back out. Tiller and Keenan in control. This the longest straightaway on the racetrack into the heaviest braking zone, and worth it is Calamity May strike as Keenan just about lost it there. There's a little bit of banking in the middle of Shoreline Drive, but will they make it through turn 1 cleanly? That's always the big question on restarts here.
Time to get in the fountain area. It's going to be a tight squeeze. Corey Vervinkt and Briar LaPrade make contact. They're going to be okay. No, they're not. Briar almost went through the fountain. That's going to open the door for DT. Chain reaction through the field. Wes Graham's around. Will there be a yellow? I don't think so.
Just the one car around with Wes Graham. So Wes loses all the track position. Would be in a good place if we put our inverts in now, but as it stands, Harry, Arrow, and Brad have been able to jump away from this. An issue, I think, maybe with DT as well. Didn't see what happened to him, but he's suddenly fallen down the leaderboard. His live timing and scoring begins to flip through, and just a whale of a battle that you see on your screen, sir. This is 7th as it stands. Gabe Wood, Garrett Smithley, David Schildhouse, TCB going. Just everybody here, especially from Smithley on back.
Absolutely. Oh, big wiggle out of the leader, Harry Tiller there. And like you said, these three have broken off. Briar LaPrade's kind of loosely hanging on right now. Just, on that restart, I think Brad Perez actually caught the wall in turn 11 on that hairpin just a little bit, and it was just enough as he almost spins it. Actually, as David Schildhouse goes around as well. Got to watch out here. But it was just enough of a wiggle that it split this field pretty cleanly for first, second, third, and fourth.
TCB went punt and Schildhouse went out of the way as Harry Tiller and Keenan Kusin have really driven away. This is Briar LaPrade Brad Perez. Oh, that's a tongue twister I would not wish upon anybody. I'm glad I slowed down to make sure I got those right. But here's a look off the rear deck lid of the Manchester, Tennessee natives machine. LaPrade racing with Ledford Billiard Supply on his car. And once again, a driver in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, back in it for 2024.
And watch this group right here. Michael Cozy Jr. is all over the rear bumper now of Brad Perez. He's going to look to the inside for a second. Goes TCB around a little further back.
Right in front of the Pike sign. How convenient. I appreciate that, TCB. that was how kind of you, good sirs. You get a good shot here of Michael Cozy Jr. Had a look to the inside of Brad Perez, then thought better of it, decided to tuck back in line, but everybody conga lining their way through this hairpin because there aren't really too many other options unless you find a way to get into somebody. And oh, trouble there. Corey gets into Cozy, and Cozy almost blocked Gabe Wood and didn't let anybody through the hairpin, but then thought better of it.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised that one wasn't a caution, to be honest with you, but there goes all that track position, and that's going to be really hard to regain at this point in the race, almost halfway. It all started again. It was a chain reaction with Breyer and Brad.
We've seen that. Meanwhile, though, Keenan Kusin had a big dive on Harry Tiller for the race lead as you watch this battle between Perez and Breyer LaPrade continue to rage for the third spot. Arrow decided to tuck back in, and Brad slides it on the exit of turn 4. The return on a shoreline drive, so there goes all his track position, and that will allow LaPrade to lock down the third spot. He's now cleared by about 5 seconds over Gabe Wood.
I was about to say, shout out to Gabe Wood here, sitting in the top 5. Doing a good job right now. He's keeping Vargas and Garrett Smithley at bay behind him. Garrett Smithley, the highest running of our championship contenders right now, so you got to think he's probably going to take a little bit more of a conservative approach and try to hold on here because he's seen so many cars just spin out in front of him here.
Just don't spin it, I think, is half the battle with this car combo, this track, because you've got so much torque to work with as they try to make sure they don't run over each other in the hairpin. That's been a continuous issue for this field every time as you see Frisch and Schildhaus come down pit road for service. So those two in for a stop. Meanwhile, Tiller and Keenan still in control, but Keenan has not let Harry Tiller get away. He's not really been able to challenge him all that much, but he has consistently stayed within about a car length or two of the Englishman throughout the duration of this opening race.
Yeah. Seen throughout the rest of the field how they've really started to disperse, but like you said, Keenan's done a great job of sticking with them, and he's still all over the back bumper of Harry Tiller right now. Both of these guys desperate for a good run, and they are getting it so far.
Just a little bit. If Keenan can set this up, this is absolutely here for him if he wants it. He's certainly within striking distance. It's just a matter of how do you set this pass up? Where do you set this pass up? And or does Harry give you any sort of opportunities whatsoever to try and get around? Does he open the door? Does he make a mistake? Can you pressure Harry into making some sort of mistake? Or is Harry going to be able to get enough space there as he was able to open that gap up just a little bit of the back end of that most recent lap to where you don't have the opportunity to hound him the way you were, say, 2-3 laps ago?
And wanted to update on a few drivers throughout the field. We saw up earlier on, looks like TCB's come to the pit lane with a meatball. He has some damage. Corey Vervinkt as well on the pit lane right now after towing. And then DT looks like he has dropped out. He radioed in to us and said he thinks his GPU is having some issues. So hopefully he can get that resolved and get back with us for race number 2. And yeah, you see Dale there is just stuck in the fountain, right?
Yeah, Brad goes around. Dale's stuck in the fountain. I hope Dale realizes that camouflage doesn't exactly work like that. You know?
I couldn't see him. I thought he fell out. I was like,
I mean, I appreciate the effort and the creativity to try and make that thing hide in all the flowers there, but a race car is a little bit big for that space, I think. So 10 out of 10 for effort, but You're going to have to get a little bit more car camo to be able to make that work.
And Dale had such a good run last week, the Season 1 core champion. He was up front kind of mixing things up at Talladega last week, and so was the guy right behind him in Fly Guy. Both of those guys were there at the very end, and have had some pretty good runs. You see Brad Perez as well making his second course start here tonight with us.
I don't know. Brad, I'll be very curious to see how Brad looks at this first race, because I think it will not be the finish that he wanted. It will not be the finish that I think his pace would have indicated. But remember, you've got the invert that will come for the second race. So if you can gain a few spots here, I don't know, does it hurt your case? Does it help your case? All things you have to consider. Never mind the fact that it is very difficult for these drivers to get through Shoreline Drive and that sort of dog leg in the middle of the straight. As we see Brad work to the inside of Fly Guy, and he'll take the spot. But you've got so much torque on these Gen 4 stock cars that even though the road itself has a little bit of banking, which is a bit of an oddity for a public street, which is the entirety of this course, it actually does give you a little bit to lean into, but not so much that if you just throttle it up too much, you can spin yourself out sometimes. And you want to talk about a quick way to lose a lot of time, to spin yourself out in that dog leg when everybody's going minimum, usually about 100, 120 miles an hour. The shield house goes around again. Very easy way to really set yourself back.
Big here, Harry Tiller and Keenan have both come down the pit lane here on lap 10. And we'll see Breyer comes in as well. Gabe Wood. Looks like pretty much everybody who hasn't made a stop yet is coming down right now. Garrett Smithley among them, Michael Cozy Jr. as well.
Everybody in for tires, for fuel, for whatever they decide to add, maybe even stuff. Oh, Harry Tiller had to back it into his stall. Tiller did not get a clean entry into his stall, and if Keenan can have a halfway decent pit stop, he should take over the race lead. There goes Keenan. He does indeed. So not the cleanest of pit stops for Tiller, and Keenan Kusin will jump out in front. And Kusin will control this race now. By how much, I'm not sure, but there will be a gap between Keenan and Harry Tiller when we get back to it, just off of the pit stops and the pit stops alone.
We'll see if Harry can get back to him, but this is now back-to-back weeks where these pit stops have really come into play. It happened last week in the second race at Talladega as well. Keenan has set himself up very favorably right now. And Harry's going to have to work really hard to catch him with only 8 laps to go here.
Ryan Vargas in trouble there, just at the exit of that long back straightaway here at Long Beach Seaside Way, working his way through the hairpin and just trying to make it, I think, to the end and then regroup and get the opportunity to breathe. He'll come down pit road, as will the car directly behind him. Here's Blake McCandless, who's currently scored as the race leader, who also came down and pitted early too. So Blake, Vargas going in, Brad Perez has come down pit road. Then you've got Fly Guy, then you've got Michael P. Frisch, and now Mr. Aero HD on the charge. The first of the drivers sort of on the regular strategy. Keenan working to the inside of Frisch, and Harry Tiller is back behind this group by, call it, about 1.7 seconds, and that was entirely just off of the difference that was created when Tiller missed his stall and had to back into it to begin service.
Yeah, just kind of riding along with who will eventually cycle out to be our leader, in Keenan. I mean, they're getting up to speed pretty nicely on that front stretch, almost speeds of 160, 170 miles per hour at the end of that straight. So, I mean, again, it's been the talk all night, but you got to be careful not to lock up the brakes on entry, which we've seen so many guys do. And not only that, but when you get back on the power, to not spin the tires, which has been so difficult for everybody so far tonight. But you see Harry closing in. He does that exact thing. So does Frisch in front of him as well.
Tense and nervy moments there. Oh, look at Frisch. He just about sent it straight over the curve there at turn 8, which is easy to clip. You've got enough room on the inside apex there to get a little bit creative with the way you attack that, but Harry Tiller has had all kinds of pace, all kinds of speed. He and Frisch door to door. This for the 4th position on the racetrack, entering the parking lot and the hairpin to close out the lap.
Gotta be careful here. Harry with a great turn 11 there. That was about perfect, and he's just gonna gap Frisch here and take that spot from him.
Big mess a little bit further back here. Gabe Wood is the first car amongst this bunch. So this is 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. We go on board now with Michael Cozy Jr. in the 9th spot, working their way down Shoreline Drive to that big braking zone in turn 1. Everybody backs it up, and here comes Michael Cozy Jr. bouncing over the curbs, waiting for some sort of opportunity, though this is the toughest place to make a move because there's just not a lot of room through here at all.
And they'll get through here nicely, go through 4, coming up on Shoreline Drive, and like you said, just so narrow through here, and widens up here a bit where you could make some noise if you had a run, but obviously Cozy not in position. Looks like Gabe Wood going to lock him up a little bit further ahead. That might give Vargas the room he needs. No, Vargas is going to get loose on exit here. That's going to open the door for going.
Big moves here down the back straightaway at Long Beach as Gabe Wood is there, Ryan Vargas is there, Cozy is there. You see Brian LaPrade just in the back of this bunch. Meanwhile, I can also tell you, contact there. Arrow got into somebody. I couldn't tell who, but there was contact on the front straightaway. There was a lap car that got in the way. I think it was Dale Reynolds, but Keenan had to get into the back of him, and all of a sudden, Harry Tiller has managed to clear Keenan for P2. What an unfortunate turn of events for the Ottawa native.
Yeah, and now, I mean, Keenan's going to have to lock in here on Harry, which is a complete role reversal from just a lap ago. I mean, it's close, but this is about how they were before that pit stop, and all of a sudden that massive mistake on pit road for Harry Tiller might not be as consequential as we thought.
Might not be as consequential, but Keenan was clearing everybody, and all of a sudden Dale Reynolds just stuffed it in the fence. There was, trouble there. So there's the damage to the front end of Keenan's car. I don't know how much that's going to make a difference, but look at Reynolds here. Just didn't get a good exit, and Keenan was just trying to roll momentum like he normally would, and Dale was wrong place, wrong time. I saw Michael P. Frisch give the boot to somebody else as well. Looks like Fly Guy was the one that went around right into the entry of pit road. So those two down for service, and Harry Tiller has started to open this up once again as Blake McCandless is the only one these two have yet to pass, working our way towards the final handful of laps, 3 to go at the stripe.
Got to be one of the most satisfying parts of the racetrack, this front straightaway, where, after this entire lap where you have to be so mindful of the throttle, you get a few seconds to just lay it to the floor and try to go as fast as you can around the sweeping front straight. Here with Blake, you get to listen a little bit. You can hear him absolutely on that clutch, trying to save as much as he can here. I don't know if he can save enough to get to the end here, but he's going to try.
So a little bit of revised math for you off the beginning of our broadcast. We said the fuel window was 26 laps. That would be with a 100% tank. It has been set this evening to 40%. So 40% of 26, which puts you ballpark 11 or 12 laps or so. Now, Blake did pit under that first yellow, that big incident in the hairpin that we had. Certainly something to watch for here, because you needed to stop at least once, and Blake did get his stop in. 10.4 laps, in theory, is your actual number that we're looking at. So if you're Blake, you're hoping that you saved enough under the yellow. Otherwise, you're just running to essentially race for a good invert spot, and Harry Tiller has been able to extend his lead on Keenan Kusin as well.
Yeah, I mean, all this clutching that Blake's doing, it's going to cost him here eventually. I mean, Harry's already within frame here on him. And there's Justin Malillo around. Oh, Dorman as well just spun around, hit the wall on Shoreline Drive.
And Blake locked it up there on corner entry, so this is the battle for the race lead. And now you can't say, because Harry Tiller is here. And what kind of moves will he make if Blake decides to throw the block or 2 or 3 or 4.
And if Blake can hold Harry up enough, rather, then
Terry Hiller.
Keenan
Terry
could-
Hiller.
Yeah,
Alter ego.
Yeah, you know. But I mean, Keenan could get theoretically back in this battle if Blake's able to hold him up enough.
Could, yeah. If you're Keenan, you are praying that Harry just doesn't have an easy time getting around Blake and that he gets stopped up enough, which he definitely is getting held up a little bit. I don't know how much longer Blake's going to be able to keep this up, but Harry certainly has had to let it go a little bit. He dives to the inside, looks at corner entry, thought about giving Blake the bumper, then thought better of it. Meanwhile, that gap to Arrow is about 1.8 seconds as it stands. So that, too, worth watching. Will Harry try and set Blake up in the middle of the hairpin? He'll just turn him! He turns him and gets right in the way of Keenan twice.
Too.
Oh. Terrible.
Oh, man.
You'd think once would be enough for one race, and Keenan runs into somebody in the hairpin twice. And that is effectively race over, barring the unexpected. Harry Tiller just has to hit his marks here for the last 2 laps. But someone go get Keenan Kusa a golden horseshoe or 2, because the contact certainly has impacted his ability to keep up with Harry in what was a really good battle that has just been split up by cars losing control on corner exit in the tightest corner on this racetrack.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even in race 2, it's going to be an uphill battle for him because he's going to have that invert to deal with, and he's going to have to make his way up through the entire field. So definitely a heartbreaker there for Keenan and Blake as well. Both these guys, I mean, still second and third, but not in contention for this race win. And like you said, barring anything impossible happening here with Harry.
Clear by 3.5 seconds and growing. Blake has still managed to hang on to P3, so if that fuel strategy works out for him, that'll be really, really impressive. 15 laps with the yellow, so he did get a little bit of help. You'd figure he should be able to go more than that 10.4, but 15 laps. Big, big question. If not, then it's largely standard service and Michael Cozy
Well,
Jr.
here he goes.
Okay, all right. Well, so there's that answer. There's that answer very quickly. So a valiant effort from Blake McCandless, the most fearless driver in core when it comes to pit strategy. Didn't work for him this time, but Tiller, then Arrow, then Michael Cozy Jr. We have started the final lap of the first race of the evening, but again, we have a doubleheader in store for you, so more racing to come when the checker flag falls on this, our opening race of the evening at the Long Beach Street Circuit.
And I mean, absolute Harry masterclass during this one. He's going to go down into 6 and 7 here. He's driven not a perfect race, but a very clean race, and that's something that a lot of his competitors cannot say, and why he's accrued such a lead here.
He's just been clean, and he's been consistent, and he's been very, very sharp with his marks all race long. No question about it. This has been the fastest driver in the field, and he has 2 more corners to secure victory. 1 more run through the hairpin to complete the British invasion of Long Beach as Milton Keynes' Harry Tiller goes to victory lane in the opening race of the night here for round 7 of Season 6 of Core, presented by SimWrapMarket.com. The opener for the Stig Shoreline Drive Street Circuit Bonanza goes to Harry Tiller.
And everybody else will cycle across the line here. Harry's doing his burnouts already. Look at this battle between Brad and Schildhouse here.
Good battles across the entire field as you see Brad Perez and David Schildhouse fighting out. This is for the 9th spot. Schildhouse at the line, I think, is just going to be okay. Brad tried to drift it a little bit, I think.
And Harry's still sitting here. I wonder if anybody's going to come bop him here. Thought Garrett might have tried to.
Everybody working their way through the final lap. Justin Melillo beginning to come across the stripe. You see him next up in line is going to be Fly Guy. We still have Dale Reynolds. I think Dale's going to be the last one, maybe, to come across the stripe. No, Dorman and DT and Dorman. Dorman will be the last driver to finish. There's DT across the stripe and Robert Dorman there as well. And that's everybody across the line here and ready to go. Big slide there. Look at DT all the way around as everybody decides to do the craziness and the fun and stuff that we have come to expect here with Core. Let's take a look at the first race results of our doubleheader. More racing coming up here in just a little bit. So we will actually take a break here and we'll come back with more action from Long Beach. You are watching Core presented by SimWrapMarket.com. It's the Stiggs Shoreline Drive Street Circuit Bonanza from Long Beach.
Oh, we cannot face the open road. Ignition. Autopilot activated. 100 miles per hour. Why don't you come on? I can take you for a ride. Why don't you come on? We can drive away tonight. Why don't you come on? I can take you for a ride. Why don't you come on? Tonight's the night.
Good evening and welcome back to FTF.GG's coverage of round number 7 of season 6 of Core, presented by SimWrapMarket, the Stig Shoreline Drive Street Circuit Bonanza from the Long Beach Street Circuit in Long Beach, California. James Pike and Caleb Hoffman here to bring you the second half of the doubleheader. Harry Tiller, winner of race number 1, but as per regular Core rules, we've got an invert coming, Caleb, and he will have to drive all the way through the field if he wants to sweep the evening.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll touch on that in a second, but, you know, it's going to be so difficult for guys like Harry Tiller to get up through the field just, you know, coming from the back here at such a disadvantaged track position-wise. I mean, that is genuinely difficult to get all those spots back. But I mean, it's going to be a fun one. We saw how chaotic race 1 was, and I'm sure race 2 will be no different from the animals we've seen getting around this place.
You see a few of the people getting ready to go here. We'll see if we can't get a word with Harry Tiller momentarily to talk about race number 1 and see how things shook out I'll be curious to hear his perspective on how everything went down, Caleb, because there was a lot to unpack from that first race.
Yeah, who better than to hear it from the man himself? Let's get him in here.
Let's get him in here. So, all right, Harry. So I have to ask, because we are road racing here. We know that Red Bull's headquarters aren't terribly far away from where you are. So did you go pay a visit over there and get some advice from Christian or Max or anybody like that before we went green here?
I wish I would get advice from them. I'm gonna go hand my CV into them in a couple of months because I'm doing a degree and hopefully I'll end up working there one day. But yeah, we'll have to see. But no, I think if I'd have got advice from them, I'd have finished a lot further ahead than that. I tried to throw it away a few times.
Well, you had the incident on pit road. You missed the stall. You had to battle back. When you come off of pit road and you're well behind Keenan, mentally, where were you and how were you able to click off laps so that you could claw yourself back into it?
Oh, I was fuming because I pulled into my pit stall and I wasn't thinking about it. Just thought, oh yeah, they're just gonna do the normal pit stop. And then I was thinking after a couple of seconds, well, they've not changed the tires. And then I realised what had happened. Pit boxes are over. But no, I had to drive a bit angry. I was driving a bit conservative before that when I was out front because I was scared to put it in the fence. The brake pedal was feeling a bit stiff and I wasn't pressing it hard enough. I almost screwed up getting into the fountain area, but managed to keep it going. But I mean, Aero, to be fair to him, he was quick. He was keeping me honest. Not sure how difficult it would have been if he didn't have that issue coming out of the final corner, because that kind of did me a favour, really.
So you survive, you make it. Winning in core is fun. Winning the first street race, does that carry a little bit of extra meaning to you? And is there any element of all you idiotic Americans can't do anything as well as us Europeans can because it's a road race sort of thing?
Well, I've got to take him when I can get him. It's something to do with being British. I've only won 3 core races, and one of them was at Iowa, and the other one was a road course as well. So I've got to try and win where I can. I just want to apologise to Blake because I did spin him out. I didn't mean to. But yeah, no, I mean these races are hard to win, especially when you've got some of the names in here. And because I've not done all the races this season, I got to start from the front, so I've got to try and make the most of it and lock myself in for the All-Star for next season.
And how difficult does the battle to get back to the front become now that you got the invert after the way everything panned out from what you could see in race 1? I know you weren't necessarily in the thick of it because you were up near the front for most of it, but how difficult do you think that charge from back to front is going to be now that you don't have the track position because of the invert?
Oh, it's ridiculous now because you have to burn your tires up to try and pass people, and then you get held up by other people passing people, and so it's just you stack up on time, and then you've got some of the quicker guys who struggled in the last race or didn't finish how they wanted. They're now at the front, so now you've got to try and catch them, and you're not even that much faster than them if you are even faster than them. So no, it's you need a few cautions to help you out, and you need a bit of luck to play in your favour.
Harry, congratulations. We'll get you back ready for race
Cheers.
number 2. Best of luck, and we will see you on track in just a few moments. There is the dawn of Milton Keynes, one Harry Tiller, who was victorious in race number 1 and has a significant amount of work on his hands, Caleb, to try and make this happen again in the second race. The other thing I gleaned just over the break, listening to some of the drivers and some of the Twitch streams, a lot of drivers in this field really valuing tire wear. I heard Keenan, Kus, and Mr. RHD explicitly say, and I quote, tires are the move.
Yeah, I mean, it's no question. With less tire wear, you're going to have more grip to help you get the power down in the corners and help set you better for these long straightaways. So not surprised at all, and I gotta wonder if that's going to factor into how our pit stops play out. But either way, should be time to grid here soon, and going to be a lot of fun once again to get the final stint of this race underway.
field is taking to the grid, so let's go ahead and introduce you to our starting lineup for the second race of tonight's doubleheader here at Long Beach in the Stig Shoreline Drive Street Circuit Bonanza, round 7 of season 6 of Core, presented by SimWrapMarket. Here's our grid courtesy of Eric Messer Photography, the official photographer of the Madhouse and NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Series racing at Bowman Gray Stadium. Corey Vervink starts on pole alongside DT. That's your first row. In the second row, Robert Dorman and Dale Reynolds looking to improve upon last performances in race number 1. Blake McCandless had that crazy pit strategy and it almost worked out. He'll start alongside Case Kellenbach. In row 4, it is Fly Guy, Tyrone Reed, and Justin Malillo, who will roll off 7th and 8th. Your top 10 completed by Gabe Wood, and the pole sitter for the first race of the evening, Brad Perez.
Defending Core champion going to start off row number 6. David Schildhouse starts alongside Wes Graham in 12th position. Row number 7, you'll find Garrett Smithley starting 13th on the inside of current points leader, Michael P. Frisch, who had a rough race 1. He'll try to rebound here. Row number 8, Goin starts next to Ryan Vargas. Both of those guys did pretty well. Goin especially had a lot of speed. He'll be one to watch here going in race number 2. Then we'll get to the penultimate row here. Michael Cozy Jr. starting alongside Arrow, 17th and 18th. Both of those guys have a big crawl, but not a bigger crawl than defending race winner and Harry Tiller. He rounds out the field in 19th.
19 cars to take the green in the second race. We'll revisit our track facts once again. This is the street circuit at Long Beach. It's 1.968 miles, 3.167 kilometers in length, 11 turns, working your way up and down Shoreline Drive and around the surrounding streets of the port of Long Beach. If you're curious about weather, we didn't get the chance to hit it in race 1, but pretty similar between the two, and traditionally something that Core holds to. Races usually start in the morning and work their way towards noon, so the track gets warmer and slicker and loosens up as we progress through a race. This is no different. Your in-sim time, January 10th, 2024, conveniently today, but a little bit earlier today, 10:17 a.m. local time. Air temp of 66, track temp of 70 degrees, both those in Fahrenheit. No humidity, which is strange given how close we are to the water, and winds to the west at 4 miles an hour under partly cloudy skies.
Yeah, I know Zach was just itching to get that weather graphic up. Real fast, just do want to take a moment. We didn't get to talk about it much in race number 1, but have a very cool paint scheme that's in frame. That's why we'll take the opportunity to talk about it real fast. Look at DT. He changes his paint scheme up every week, and I believe this is a Ron Fellows Canadian Tire homage. He can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just eyeballing it, what I believe this is a Butte 2.
Ron Fellows, one of the greatest road course ringers to ever grace NASCAR, and dominant in the then Busch Series in particular, once upon a time. So certainly one that DT, being a Canadian native, wouldn't be all that surprised to figure that Ron Fellows is somebody that he looks up to. Also, a big thanks to all the partners behind Core: SimWrapMarket, Soundhead Entertainment, Alpha Prime Racing, Learga Security, MAT Liberties, Gabe Wood, Brayton Laster, Eric Messer, and Splash and Go Graphics. Corey Vervink to lead us to the green for the second race of the doubleheader as they go double file as quick as they can up towards the front of this field. And we are green flag racing for the second race of the doubleheader in round number 7 of season number 6 of Core. Race number 2 of the Stig Shoreline Drive Street Circuit Bonanza starts off with contact between DT and Corey as they bounce off of each other right in that dog leg on Shoreline Drive, and Corey takes control of this as Blake McCandless comes quick in tow as they hit the fountain.
They were 4 wide for a second. Brad Perez was able to squeeze through. He's going to get the 3rd spot. Fly Guy's going to overshoot it now. He's going to tag Malillo. It's going to be a track blocker, and we might find ourselves under a caution here. They're wrecking everywhere. Fly Guy's up off the ground. Caution is out for the first time in race number 2, and only the second time tonight. Justin Malillo is pulling a mater, trying to backwards drive this thing. But what a start to race number 2.
Yeah, this is impressive from Justin here. I mean, shoot. Do we need to just start calling Larry the cable guy at this point? Because he's got this thing going backwards. Looks pretty good there.
Hold on. Yeah, I just want to take the opportunity here. Justin, how are you doing this? How is this possible?
I don't know what I'm doing, man. Car's broke. Gotta make it back.
No, is that why you're doing this? Are you that damaged?
Yeah, we're pretty damaged. The whole thing's wobbling.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's driving good. I mean, we haven't broken down the wreck yet, but I mean, hey, if you want to go with us, I mean, what happened out of your windshield there?
Well, nothing was happening outside my windshield. I can tell you that. The everything happened behind me. We're wrecking. No, we're good. Somehow.
Oh no!
No, we're good now.
That was
We're
one
good now.
of the most incredible feats of driving I've ever seen. But
Have you ever driven Long Beach backwards? Because
For
that
like
was an
3 quarters of a
experience.
whole lap
forwards.
too. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, what's the play now? I mean, we're looking at the wreck for the first time here, so I mean, you and Fly Guy come together. I know Fly Guy overshot the corner, just kind of tags you, or you just along for the ride at that point, hoping you don't get driven over.
Yeah, I thought I was pretty safe. I gave him a lot of room there, and I don't know what happened there. It just tightens up so much right in that general fountain area, so it is what it is.
Well, we'll let you get your repairs and such. Incredible driving there after the caution. Hopefully we'll be talking to you a little bit later, Justin.
Sounds good.
I don't know how he did that.
Skill, talent. What? Maybe 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, perhaps.
Yeah, he's better now, but
I'm amazed that didn't pull me out of the booth for that. I figured he would have.
Yeah, I was going along with the puns on the title, but either way, we didn't get going very far, and already, I mean, DT, we saw the contact with he and Corey Vervaint, and now we'll have a new front row for this restart.
Also worth noting, I'll give a shout out to Fly Guy because I do love the Grand Theft Auto Vice City scheme. That is fabulous, no doubt. The problem is that we're way closer to Los Santos than we are to Vice City, so I'm not necessarily certain if it works. You know?
Hey, I mean, I respect it. He's got the drip every week.
I don't know how great my geography skills are, I guess, on that
Yeah,
one.
your fake city geography.
and if it applies. I mean, hey, I was a 2-time GOB finalist back in the day, so I guess I got some chops. But we do have a restart to worry about, too. I guess there's a race we have to worry about, too, right, Caleb? I think.
Yeah, I think that's why we're here for some reason.
I'll talk about schemes, because rarely do we get to see a clean look at the Firebird. So can we take a moment to appreciate the Firebird?
Oh yeah, no, Corey, he's synonymous with that paint scheme at this point. It'd almost be heresy if he showed up with
Actually,
anything
you know
else.
what? Better idea. Let's have some fun with this. Let's bring him in himself, because we don't get the chance to chat with him all that much. So, Corey Vervaint, it's the booth. Got a copy?
I got you loud and clear, James.
All right. Firebird car. I don't know if people have heard the story behind this. I know I have, but for the masses watching on the FTF.GG Twitch channel, where did you come up with the idea for this scheme, and how'd you make it look so sexy?
So my dad and I used to watch Smokey and the Bandit quite a bit as I was growing up, so I've always had a soft spot for the Firebird Trans Am, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for my scheme for this season. I've done some wacky race cars like a smart car or a plain engine powered car in the past, but I decided to go Trans Am this time, and decided to spec the gold to make it super duper shiny, so it looks real purty under the sun.
Also, I love how your Liverpool shirt is sort of greened out on the on-screen cam there. That's great.
Absolutely.
So we'll let you get back to it, but a neat scheme, a neat scheme for Corey Vervinkt, who has the opportunity to really capitalize on the track position here. And we talked about his love for IndyCar, a lifelong Hoosier who grew up going to the Indianapolis 500. We can talk about that again too now. This is great. But yeah, this is he's very much one of those drivers in the camp of this is an opportunity to go get a race win that I would not normally have just because this is not the track that Corey usually runs. So Corey and Blake McCandless, your new front row. Then it's Robert Dorman and Brad Perez, or rather Gabe Wood and Brad Perez. As Corey did not get going on that restart, Blake McCandless is there, and Corey finds himself in the middle of a 3-wide sandwich between Brad Perez and Gabe Wood as they thunder back down into turn 1.
Brad Perez again with great moves on these restarts. He's up to second as the rest of the field tries to file on through turns 1 and 2 into the fountains. And it is a big stack up a little further back. Wes Graham tags the grass a little bit, but it looks like everybody's going to be okay. New leader, Blake McCandless, and he's got Brad Perez right behind him.
So McCandless back out in front, but this time it's not off of pit strategy. It's off of legitimate track position. And we'll get a good look at Brad Perez, too, who I think really would love to atone for some of the mistakes he made as Blake runs wide. I think that was turn 5 there. But Perez will take over the race lead. Gabe Wood now looking to hunt down Brad Perez and McCandless as they all check up. And Wood just smacked the fence hard. So Corey Vervinkt will have the opportunity to take third back.
Good pass there by Vervinkt, and good pass from Brad Perez to retake the lead, come full circle. He had the pole in race number 1. He locks up the brakes a little bit, and that's going to let Blake back into the equation. Could be a battle for the lead. Let's see how they get through the hairpin.
Also, don't look now, but David Schildhouse has just come through this field like a bandit here in the opening lap. He picked up about 2 or 3 spots off of his grid. He started in 11th. He's going to end this first lap back off the restart in 5th, and I believe, save for Brad Perez, he might be the hardest charger in the field at this point. But David Schildhouse is quickly working his way towards the front of this field.
Coming through the fountains now, and Brad's got to be very careful. I mean, he's got Blake McCandless all over him right now. Does this battle maybe open up the door for Corey Vervinkt to get back in it?
And or how much will Blake and Brad fight, and will Brad lock it up heavy there? He certainly locked up the left front a little bit on corner entry. That gave Blake just a bit of room, but Brad was able to sort of unlock it, for lack of a better term, and worked out okay. Meanwhile, Corey was able to fight off Gabe Wood, but David Schildhouse down to the inside of Gabe, working their way down the back straightaway here at Long Beach, and that would be for the 4th position if David can complete the pass.
He gets it right there, and now has his sights set on Corey Vervinkt as long as he gets through this hairpin cleanly. And again, at least if it were me behind the wheel, this would definitely be the most fun part of this racetrack, where you get to go full throttle for once, and everybody just getting on it. Got to be very careful, though. I mean, even here, you can get upset. The back end of this car can get really wobbly on you, and you can end up going around, similar to what we saw with Corey Vervinkt and DT on the initial start of this race. Oh, Brad Perez just went around.
Yep, Perez runs into trouble there in turn 1 and loses all kinds of track position, back all the way to the 10th position. So now Blake McCandless, the leader, and that was a simple mistake. He just overshot the corner. There's nothing more to it. Just drove it too deep into turn 1, stuffed it in the fence, and Blake got a little bit of damage too. He didn't really have anywhere to go, but it's Blake and Corey now 1 and 2, and David Schildhouse all of a sudden is all over the rear bumper of Corey Vervinkt for the runner-up spot.
And I mean, Corey Vervinkt, keep in mind, he has a clean car rather. Blake McCandless did get a fair bit of front-end damage, similar to Keenan in race number 1. And he's going to have to be very careful here. Here comes Schildhouse. He's going to send it down to the inside of Corey Vervinkt. And they're side by side for second behind Blake McCandless.
And Schildhouse is going to have the preferred line going into the hairpin, so Corey's going to run it wide, and ran it too wide a little bit. He'll get a decent run off the corner, but it won't be enough to keep Schildhouse back in third. David Schildhouse now to second. McCandless up in front. Vervinkt back to third. Gabe Wood just cleared Vervinkt. So now Gabe Wood back into the 3rd position. Vervink back to 4th, and Cozy now in 5th. Meanwhile, Mr. Arrow HD in 11th, Harry Tiller in 15th. You're 1 and 2 from the opening race of the doubleheader for those wondering.
Oh, Gabe Wood off the back, or of the front bumper of Corey Vervinkt, rather. It's going to be a stack up. Wes Graham, rear tires lifted up off the ground, and it looks like Gabe Wood's going to be the only one with significant damage from that, but that is going to stack up the rest of this field. And look at this pack with Wes Graham, Garrett Smithley, Arrow on back. They are all together now.
I mean, it wasn't even
Gabe
the
Wood
damage
not
for
happy
Gabe.
over the radio too.
Yeah, it wasn't even the damage for Gabe. It was all the track position he lost. He was in the top 5. He comes out of that all the way back in 15th position.
And I mean, that's not easy to make up. This group right here, they're going to have to figure some things out. You can't run like this forever here at Long Beach. And Keenan to the inside of Vargas. Try not to lock him up.
Vargas, you figure, would be a little bit more motivated than most, given that he is a Southern California native out of La Mirada, California. Locks it up there in the hairpin. I don't know if he got into Wes Graham, but they'll keep it locked down there on corner exit. We'll have a good side-by-side. And just look at this. Look at this. I need not to say much here because they are all over each other down Shoreline Drive.
Well, they're all over Corey Vervinkt right now. You saw a little bit of smoke. There was contact between Vervinkt and DT, and the hairpin sent Vervinkt around, and DT had to check up big time. That's why both of these guys have been engulfed by this pack. Here comes Garrett Smithley. Big crossover now on Wes Graham to try to break in to the top 5. Now Vervinkt's going to get in the back of Wes Graham 2 laps in a row.
What if there's a 3-strike penalty here? Because that is the second time that Corey's gotten to someone in the fountain in as many laps. Meanwhile, the front 3 here are well going off this battle that you see on your screens. McCandless and Shieldhouse are home free by 3+ seconds over Michael Cozy Jr.
Oh, Keenan's going to go around off the nose of Brad. Sorry to interrupt you there, James, but Keenan, I thought that was going to be a track blocker for a second, but they get it figured out. Keenan is just not having himself a lucky night. He has the speed, and you heard it from Harry in race number 1 that he's had the speed. It's just not been his night tonight so far with incidents and such.
Brad's just not been able to nail down these braking zones, and he's overshot a few corners. The damage he did to himself in turn 1 stands out, and then turn 5 where he gets into Arrow there that last time by. So Keenan now back to 14th. Brad still in the top 10, but he'll come down pit road for service now on lap 8, which is the early side of the window. So it is open for a few of these drivers, looking to see if anybody else comes in. DT is in, Arrow is in, Brad is in. Those 3 get to look to stretch it a little bit long to wrap up the second race as Frisch gets into it.
Oh, caution!
And yellow flag. Do you love this or do you hate this if you just came down pit road now?
I watched this one live, and it's not pretty. I mean, I think you love it, honestly. I mean, everybody else in front of you, you know they still have to pit. We didn't have many takers on that first caution. But before we open that can of worms, I would love to just see a replay, because I was watching this live of what happened with Frisch. And it is certainly a piece of driving here. Sends it in from deep to try to get past Garrett, and he queued up over the radio after this and just said, "I'm sorry." he
knew. Yeah, no, this is where's Landon Hubbard and Dylan Wilson? This would make the windshield deep contention pretty proud. Which that was windshield, arguably firewall, arguably engine block deep there. With no intent to particularly try and make the quarter cleanly, just wanted to try and make some form of it. Here's the onboard from Justin Malillo, who just saw them all pile in and then decides to get in on some of the action himself.
And we'll get into it now, but I mean, that does shake things up quite a bit. Like you said, it was still the early side of the pit window, but it was open. So, I mean, you're going to have to see these leaders come down. I think that everybody that did just pit is actually going to be in a pretty good spot. I mean, this track is long enough. You're not going to get lapped or anything like that. You're not going to get trapped a lap down. So I think it can work out pretty well in their favor here.
I've been keeping an eye on some of the Twitch chats and the channels of some of the drivers racing tonight. And I saw someone jump up in Arrow's chat and just say blackjack, which I suspect indicates that that person is thinking sort of along the lines of what you just said, where if you came down pit road to open up the window and they got the yellow flag, you may end up in a really, really good position, knowing that everybody else is going to have to come down pit road. Likely, you'd figure next time by.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's going to be a gamble for sure, but what's the saying? Fortune favors the bold.
Or the brave.
Yeah, either way, I mean, pits are going to be open this time, and we'll see who eventually is going to be the takers here. But also got to keep in mind, for a lot of these cars, there is some damage to fix, and pretty considerable damage at that. We saw Blake McCandless with his contact. You got to imagine he's going to want to have that fixed with this opportunity. And Gary Owen, we know, has some damage. Garrett Smithley from the Frisch incident just now. So something to keep in mind as well, as we see literally basically the entire field come down.
Now, worth reiterating that as per core rules, you get one fast repair to use during the race, but that's it. So I almost worry with the way this field is raced, and given that we're going to have a full and proper restart coming, is it too early, perhaps, to use your fast repair?
I don't know if too early is the right word. I mean, we are in kind of new territory because last race, it was a really clean race. Not in the fact that we didn't have any incidents, but we didn't bunch the field back up after that first caution. And now we're in a completely new zone where there's only a handful of laps to go, and the entire field's going to be together, and you're going to have guys that are trying to get past this lead group.
Turn one's going to be an adventure, I think. And that's the easiest way I can put it.
Yeah, we'll see who ends up in the fountains for sure.
So we'll work our way through this here and see where we go with things, as lights are off on the pace truck. So we will get a restart this time by, and all of a sudden, lap 12 is on the board. So you are good on fuel. Everybody pitted, I think. Just looking here at timing and scoring. So fuel's not really a concern. This is effectively a heads-up shootout, but if you are Brad or Arrow or DT, you definitely won the lottery here because you get all the track position back, and especially in Arrow's case too. Brad as well. Those two have had plenty of speed. We know about the road course prowess of both of those drivers. So now here's the opportunity to go heads up and fight for potentially a big win in core.
And I would like to apologize to one Justin Malillo, who redeemed his 5,000 point driver update. Told us to do it on either lap 6 or 9, but we
tried to catch it right at the end
with the yellows.
I tried to catch it about 6.9-ish of the way through lap 7. I
well,
tried
he's
to,
up on the front row now, so it works out.
I tried to make the update as nice as I could, Justin. I'm sorry. So here we go. Green flag on lap number 12 of 18. How will Arrow and Brad work their way into turn 1? Brad has had issues on corner entry, and he just sent it straight in, and somehow Keenan was able to regroup, and then Brad overshoots the corner, and Blake gets turned around, and here comes Mr. Arrow HD to the front. Yellow flag
Caution.
out. Keenan just came on the radio. It's like, I have no idea what Brad was doing there. What car control? If we can get an onboard of Keenan on this, just the wherewithal to take the shot from Brad, who very clearly was just gonna send it in as deep as he could, gather it back up, recognize that Brad was going to overshoot, undercut the corner so that he could get underneath Brad once Brad hit the fence, and then take the race lead. One of the best stretches of driving in the span of maybe 15 seconds or so that I can think of in a long time. Here's the onboard from Keenan. You'll see Brad off to the right-hand side of your screen. You'll see Brad dive in, make the contact. I thought that Keenan was a goner here, and then Keenan just checked it up hard. Brad locks it up, stuffs it in the fence. Blake gets turned. All of a sudden, clear track for Arrow, and he's got the race lead.
And look at everybody just pile on in here. It's kind of just over before it really even begins for a lot of these guys. Once you get one car turned around and pretty much the narrowest corner of the track, it's just nothing really you can do when everybody's trying to fly in there at the same time.
There's Harry Tiller's view of things with our race number one, and that's tricky. I think if anything, he's lucky that everybody went sideways, but then nothing you can do there. And I think that was Case that was jacked up to the moon and then some. Literally to the moon of the Moonhead logo on Harry's hood. So,
I mean, this is going to set us up in fun territory.
Yep, we'll let them regroup, though. In the meantime, while we've got a moment, we'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more action from Long Beach. Don't go anywhere. The thrilling finish to the doubleheader of round number 7 for Season 6 of Core, presented by SimWrapMarket. The conclusion to the Stig Shoreline Drive Street Circuit Bonanza when we come back on the FTF.GG Twitch channel. Welcome back to FTF.GG's coverage of the Stig Shoreline Drive Street Circuit Bonanza, Round 7 in Season 6 of Core, presented by SimWrapMarket.com. James Pike alongside Caleb Hoffman as we have lights off on our pace truck, and that will set us up for what should be a 4-lap sprint to the finish. And this is the best opportunity that Keenan Kusin, I think, has ever had to win in Core. Everything sets up for him. He got the pit stop at the right time, timed it perfectly with the cautions, has the track position. There's not really anyone around him that's shown the ability to be as quick as Keenan was in the first race. David Schildhouse has been fast. DT's been there. Brad Perez has been able to dive it in deep in turn 1. Sometimes sticks the corner, sometimes doesn't. But you know he'll be aggressive. But you compare where Keenan is now to Harry Tiller, who's buried in 16th. Keenan was able to get the track position. It really all is ball in his court at this stage. Or puck on his side of the rink, I guess, because it's Canadian.
Yeah, and I mean, even so, I mean, it's no surprise these guys have just been absolutely bodying each other up at the front, but he has a minimal amount of damage as well, and even with the guys that have speed up here at the front, a lot of them do have considerable damage. Look at drive through the front end of his car. David Schildhouse has been involved in a few. Brad Perez, Justin Malillo, Michael Cozy Jr. on back. The first car really without damage that has a lot of speed and has shown it tonight is Garrett Smithley, and he is all the way back in 9th right now. So it's going to be an uphill battle for him to even get up to the front with only 5 laps left in this race, and he's probably going to have help from cautions, which is not out of the equation. I mean, we just saw what happened with the leaders and everybody else. I mean, we're full send at this point, 5 laps to go, but I think it would be difficult, and Keenan's in a good spot here for sure on this restart.
All on Keenan here as we go back to Green Flag Racing. The pair of Canadians up front with DT Devin Cornelius to his outside as Brad Perez got a good jump. Going to try and find some room to the outside of Devin. This may be the only opportunity that Brad has to get this lead back as Keenan and everybody will drive it down. Look at David Schildhouse to the inside to take over second. I think he got about 3 cars there.
Oh, and he's going to get Brad Perez in the outside wall. That was a big sin for sure, and just didn't have the room with everybody 3 wide like that. And then a little bit further ahead, Vervinkt almost got Gabe Wood again.
Championship implications there. Schildhouse will slide back to 10th. Meanwhile, Keenan's clear by a 1.5 seconds almost, as I couldn't tell who just stepped into the fence. I think that was Blake McCandless who got the wall on the exit. So he'll lose his spot to Michael Cozy. He'll lose his spot to Garrett Smithley. Ryan Vargas all of a sudden now up into second. He's been able to drag Cozy with him. They both cleared DT.
And you mentioned how important it would be to a Southern California native in Ryan Vargas to get a win here. He might have an opportunity, but Michael Cozy Jr. wants to put an end on that. He's looking down to the inside. He'll have the preferred lane. Let's see if he gets it.
This will be big for points as well when we consider that Cozy currently runs in second. Michael P. Frisch is your points leader. He is currently scored in the 15th position, racing Wes Graham. So there is a big opportunity for Cozy to really spin the title fight back in his direction as Keenan is gone. 1.7 seconds at the stripe, 3 laps to go. Cozy second, Vargas third. Those two I don't think are done fighting just yet. And it's spread out a little bit further back behind them, so we'll keep our eyes on this battle for second as Cozy gets the fence and bounces off and loses second. Vargas is there. DT tried to get there through the fountain section and couldn't get alongside Cozy, so he'll have to settle for the 4th spot still, but Cozy back to 3rd. Vargas takes over the runner-up spot once again.
Yeah, I mean, Keenan's pace right now, 2nd to none on this racetrack, and I think for guys like Vargas, Cozy, DT a little further on back, it's probably going to take a caution at this late of a stage in here, unless Keenan just absolutely blows it, which, again, not out of the equation. We've seen the impossible multiple times tonight. I'm not ruling anything out.
Possible, for sure, but Keenan is clear. He is gone. He is gapping the field. This is just a hit your marks and don't screw up sort of thing, and this will be his. How big it would be for Keenan Kusin as Vargas doing an admirable job of keeping Cozy at bay, and they're starting to bring Garrett Smithley and Blake McCandless back into it as well.
And this is going to be a fun group right here, all battling for the 2nd position right now. Surprised we haven't seen, I mean, we've seen some pretty big sins here, but 2 laps to go. Starting to feel like maybe Keenan's race to lose here.
Clear of everybody here. The lead continuing to hold at about 2.2 seconds, so nothing particular to worry for him. Meanwhile, it's a 3-car fight for the 2nd spot between Vargas and Cozy and DT. And then Smithley and then McCandless. Gabe Wood up into the 7th position. He got spun around a few times in this race, and he's managed to take the faster pair and regroup, and all of a sudden finds himself in the top 10.
And I mean, Keenan's been such a threat at these road courses always. I mean, I think back to when we ran the Roval here in Core a few years ago. CTMP obviously was a staple of the calendar forever, and he always, you know, just showed speed during those races, but for some reason or another, a lot of the times just ran into trouble like we've seen tonight as well. But very well could be a redemption arc right here. He could finally find himself in victory lane as he's about to go through the hairpin for what will be the penultimate time. As long as he can do one more lap and just hit his marks, like you said, he should be home free.
You will appreciate the fact that Cozy peeked to the inside of Ryan Vargas that last lap by. The leads come down. It's 1.6 seconds, but that wouldn't be enough. That was about 6 or 7 tenths that they chopped off last time by. So Keenan would have to give up a significant amount more, as he is just ever so slightly trying to tread through here. And as his car says, finish the fight. The Halo 3 inspired machine is not too far away from victory if he can just run one more clean lap. But Vargas is beginning to close.
It's going to take a big Hail Mary here, I think, from Ryan Vargas. But again, not out of the equation. He does have Cozy breathing down his neck, though. Going to make it hard here. And again, Keenan's just been so smooth, so calm, hitting his marks, and has been just about perfect from this final restart on.
One more big set of corners to go for Keenan Kusin, who was right there in the first race, had the opportunity, and then ran into 2 lap cars at the exit of the hairpin, and it crushed his chances of winning the first race. But as Vargas pulls the big sin, this time he will not be denied. It is a hot boy night as Ottawa, Ontario's Keenan Kusin goes to victory lane in core. He is finally a winner and victorious in the second race of the doubleheader for the Stig Shoreline Drive Street Circuit Bonanza.
He did the thing. Team Rick gets it done, and oh my goodness, he's getting sent. He is flipping across the tire barriers, and it's just a wad him up here. I don't know if he's going to be available to talk to for his post-race ceremony at this point with how many cars are wadded up down there.
I can tell you, I have been keeping an eye on Keenan's Twitch here, especially as this started to close out. It was just screams for a solid, 15, 20 seconds straight, pretty much. Yeah. Just it's a bonanza over there at twitch.tv/Aerotech. And he is a little bit beside himself as everybody else is just piling in here.
Case. Oh my. Yeah, good thing we're doing this thing virtually down there.
He's playing Steiner math too. That's even better. Here's your full field results for the Stig Shoreline Drive Street Circuit Bonanza race number 2. Keenan Kusin and the Halo 3 inspired Daewoo starts 18th on the grid out of 19 cars and drives all the way through him to win. Ryan Vargas is second. Michael Cozy Jr. finishes third. Garrett Smithley in the 4 car was fourth, and Blake McCandless was fifth. Gabe Wood brought it home sixth. Seventh went to DT. Corey Vervinkt was eighth. Harry Tiller ninth. David Schulthouse, Justin Malillo, Michael P. Frisch 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Round up the field here for you. Wes Graham, after starting 12th, comes home 13th. Brad Perez, a rocky night for him, but he had lots of speed. Just can't show for it. 14th for him. Going 15th. Robert Dorman 16th. Dale Reynolds in 17th. Case Kallenbach 18th. Fly Guy rounds out the field. Comes home 19th.
Your full field rundown as we now bring in the Canadian, the Ottawa native, who is finally a winner in core. Keenan Kusin, Arrow himself. How are you feeling after that? Because I saw you just screaming your head off there about 2 or 3 minutes ago.
Dude, I've tried. I don't got anything for these guys on the ovals. I know that, but I always try and do something on the road course. We had a couple really good runs in Mosport in the past seasons, and something happened, or I just didn't have it. Really good call by Cisco there. I don't know if he dove or I chopped Brad and then spun and went, well, I'm at the back. I might as well take tires. And as soon as I came in the pits, I was just about in my pit stall. The caution came out. And then after that, it was just, there was still some really fast guys up there. Vargas was hounding me, and I think another 5 laps, it was over for me. And obviously they're running the full schedule and I'm not. So I was going to fight, but not, put us both on the wall to it. But, man, it's been a few seasons trying, and then I took a couple seasons off, and I'm doing a partial schedule this year, and I did not think that would happen, especially after that first race where I had a chance. It was nice to be able to get it in the second one.
Yeah, how much sweeter is this when you consider that just bad luck, I think, took you out of an opportunity to win that first one, and not always do we see redemption arcs get completed in core where you rally back in the second, especially because you didn't have the track position to start, but to come back and do it in the way that you did, does that give it a little bit more value and make it a little bit more special?
I mean, full respect to Harry Tiller. He was fast. And I think with or without, I mean, obviously I had the issue with Dale. He was trying to get out of the way. I went back and watched it. He didn't do anything wrong other than do his best. You know what I mean? And then I think Tiller was going to get me anyway. It would have been nice to fight, but he was very, very fast here today. And then, the issues at the end, whatever, I don't think I was catching him either way. So I made peace with that pretty quick because I was like, hey, there's another race. He's starting 18th, but it's going to be rough the first couple laps. This. And it's a street track. So it's not like most sport or the Watkins Glen where we went to before, where there's a bunch of runoff on either side. So like, hey man, just don't hit anything, get halfway through, and then see what happens. And sure enough, that's exactly when I pit for tires. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like all the core staffs are really good friends, and I made so many friends in this series. Wes, Davin. If I start naming them, I'm gonna forget people. So I'm just everybody. To be able to just to actually come in and podiums were sick. I was stoked with second. like I was really happy with second. So it's finally it's really cool to be able to put my name along with a lot of other really talented race car drivers.
Were you more nervous than you have been in a while, especially on that last lap, because you had about a 2-second lead and change, and you bled off a solid 3/4 of that in the span of the lap. So I guess there was a little bit of extra effort to make sure that you didn't screw up and brought home the victory.
Yeah, that's a typical Arrow move. Every time I've been in a good position at the end of one of these, I make a stupid mistake or blow the corner. Whether it's this short course, whatever I race in sim racing. So I was like, hey man, if you got to back it down a second, he's going to be driving the hell out of it behind you. He's from California. He wants this as bad as you do. And I don't know if he cooked his fronts or whatever. He was there at the end. That's what I mean. I think another 5 laps or so, and it was blouses for me. But I was like, I'd rather lose. I looked at the result relative going into the last lap, so I had about 2 seconds. I went, there's no way if I go 90, 80%, he's gaining 2 full seconds. So just hit your marks, brake a little bit early. And if he gets you, he gets you. At least you tried. But because I mean, he races for a living. I have no shame in losing to Ryan Vargas. That's fine. But yeah, backed it right off just to make sure I didn't do anything dumb, especially because it's a street track. I almost fenced it on the restart too. So I didn't really realize what my situation was until coming to the green on the last restart.
Final question, and maybe the most important one, Keenan.
Okay.
What are the field's chances of winning this weekend at Sacrifice?
You see all men were created equal. And then you look at me and you look at Samoa Joe and you see that statement's not true. When you go one-on-one with another wrestler, you got a 50-50 chance at winning. But I have a 66 2/3 chance at winning because Kurt Angle knows he can't beat me. So he's not even going to try. So you take your 33 1/3 chance minus my 25% chance, and you got an 8 1/3 chance at winning at Sacrifice. And then you take my 75% chance to winning if we were to go one-on-one, and then add 66 2/3%, you got 141 2/3 chance of winning at Sacrifice. Senior Joe, the numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you at Sacrifice.
I didn't think you were going to do the whole thing.
I missed a paragraph. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
It's still, that's better than I've ever done on an iRacing broadcast, and I've had that issue on the big ones. So yeah, that's a good place to end it. So Keenan, go celebrate with everybody on twitch.tv/Aerotech. I know your chat is just lit up. I'm looking at it now. It just hasn't stopped. So you got lots of people to go tend to, but go celebrate. You, my friend, are finally a winner in core. Congratulations.
Thank you to the staff too, Ben and Davin, for putting this on and for inviting me. I used it to try to get better at oval racing, and kind of I did improve, but it's still stoked. I'm still stoked to be able to get this. Thank you to the FTF too for broadcasting. It's for the friends racing is what I call it at this second just now. Thank you to my sponsors as well, Thrustmaster, Next Level Racing, and thank you to everybody who watched. So because it was really cool looking over every couple of laps and just saying, hey, you got this, relax, you got this. That was the hidden third element. And thank you, James. Have a great night, man.
Keenan Kusin, Arrow, finally a winner in core action. He will go off and go celebrate, and we will turn our attention to P2s. We'll send Keenan back to Team Rick and company. Ryan Vargas now joins us here in the booth, and he will chat with our Caleb Hoffman.
Yeah, and Ryan, we know it. I mean, Long Beach, you're a Southern California native. I mean, No, you wanted that win there. Is there anything you think you could have done different to catch Keenan in that final stint?
I needed one more lap, man. I needed one more lap. I closed it up so much in that last lap. That was such a fun race. This was actually a really fun. It was a difficult combo. Like, I kept making mistakes in that first race, and that kept me from getting any better. But this one, I just, was able to kind of keep my fenders on it for the most part, and I got lucky with how some of those yellows happened. Not the yellows, but like actually being able to avoid the wrecks, and it just felt really good to be competitive on a road course like this. Dicing it up with Cozy, Coke driver. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be able to actually be competitive in my critical path car here tonight. So, super neat.
Yeah, and I mean, it seemed, from our perspective at least, that the more into a rhythm you were able to get, I mean, the stronger you came on at the end of race 2 there. But speaking of the second half, looking at the schedule as well, this has been a big change, at least from last year. Obviously, Long Beach is a new addition, but we're trying some new things out. And then how do you look forward to the next 4 races to close out the year? Rockingham, Chicagoland, Wilkesboro, and then Atlanta.
Man, those are all tracks that I arguably don't really feel the most comfortable at. But, I try and run as many core races as possible just because I absolutely love the league. And unfortunately, I missed a few races, but I think I have that one drop, but then I also missed a whole nother race. So I told myself that if I could scam myself a top 10 finish in the league this season, I'll be happy. And I think tonight definitely aided in those efforts.
Well, I believe you were 12th coming into tonight, and then obviously 2 pretty good races for you. You should be inside that, if not inside the top 10, then in that conversation at least. So, like you said, you're doing pretty well for yourself going into the last 4 races of Core Season 6.
Yeah, I'll take it. It's been fun. Obviously, it's just a good league. Really, really good time every time I race this league. It's always a lot of fun, and getting to rep critical path security on the sim is always just a blast. So, shouts out to them and everybody for watching and putting this league together.
Well, congratulations again on a hard-fought second-place finish there. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. I believe I'll be there.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Appreciate you, Vargas.
Let's do it. Let's go.
That is the driver of the number 26 in Ryan Vargas. We'll go back to you, Pike.
Yeah, this you can hear the sting in that one, especially because this is the last Southern California race of the Core season for 2023-24. We went to his home track, Irwindale. We went to Auto Club, Long Beach. So the rest of this is all east, and we go from one driver in this series, home track of Ryan Vargas, to a track that I know one Blake McCandless in particular has eyeballed every time any series he competes in goes there. Rockingham is next up for Core, a 60-lap double header, 120 laps in all, but coming your way next Wednesday night, January 17th, 9 p.m. Eastern, the FTF.GG Twitch channel, and the rock in these cars in particular. You cannot tell me that is not going to be a blast in some way, shape, or form.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's Rockingham. I mean, you're going to be able to rip that top lane. You're going to be able to use that bottom. Pit strategy, I know, is going to be a factor at some point. Absolutely one of the most fun racetracks that we go to in Core, and I'm so looking forward to it next week.
Also, I believe you are the presenting partner of the race at the Rock. So do we have you don't have to spoil it for the stream, but do we have an idea of what the race name is going to be?
It was on a car that we touched on this week. I'll say that.
Okay. So those who have eagle eyes or ears might have paid close attention. It's up to you to try and figure out what direction Caleb is going. But I will be back next week. Caleb will be next week. And this is what the point situation is going to look like entering next week. And Frisch actually didn't give up all that much to Cozy. It was not the finish that he wanted, but he rebounded nicely in this race. He finished 12th. was far back in this field towards the end. He was as deep as about 16th, 17th. So Cozy chips away at this a little bit, but not as much. And Frisch is in a pretty good position, especially coming out of this race, which was such a wild card compared to everything else on the calendar. You look at what's left. Rockingham, Chicagoland, North Wilkesboro, if anything, might be the oddball amongst the bunch because the rest of it's sort of mile and a half-ish tracks.
Yeah, and I mean, they're going to be unpredictable, but they're a lot more of a known quantity than here tonight. And obviously, I mean, we know who had speed coming into it. I mean, I think Harry and Keenan are both very not predictable, but I mean, it makes sense that they won here tonight. And I think for everybody else that was kind of in the thick of that points fight, it was kind of more just get out of here cleanly. And we saw that from a lot of everybody, especially guys like Cozy. I know Frisch didn't have the greatest night, even though he's holding on to the points lead. But everything else, I mean, it's going to be a heavyweight brawl between a lot of the rest of these guys. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Again, last 4 races of the year. And we're getting down to the thick of it.
Lots of action to come your way in core. We are not quite done, and there is so much I feel like it's going to play out over the course of the next 4 weeks. So much racing that we'll need to keep our eye on, and so much action that will come your way. But we have to wait 1 more week before we resume the next chapter of Core Season 6, presented by SimWrapMarket.com. That'll put a wrap on things here from Long Beach and from tonight's Stiggs Shoreline Drive Street Circuit Bonanza. For Davin Cornelius and Ben Easterday at Core, for Zach Johnson behind the scenes, our producer making things happen on the broadcast here on the FTF.GG Twitch channel, and for my partner in the booth, Caleb Hoffman, I am James Pike. Thank you so much for watching our coverage of Season 6 of Core, presented by SimWrapMarket.com from Long Beach here on the FTF.GG Twitch channel. And we will see you 1 week from tonight for round number 8 from The Rock.